I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast of JoyClicks. I'm your host today, your Chewbacca, joined by my Buryaga, Mike Connors. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good, man. I'm so happy that we finally got that down. It only took us 7 episodes, but
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm doing good. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Of course, we got another bracket. I have some personal Star Wars news to talk about this week as well, so I'm excited to do that. But
Yep.
What's up with you? How you doing?
Good, man. I made a big purchase yesterday. We were kind of talking about this before the podcast. If you allow me to showcase here what most people have had for years now, but I just got, which is a Nintendo Switch. I also bought this really fancy case that was also at Target. But yeah, I went with the gray one, if anyone was interested,
Nice.
because I just think it looks the most the sleekest, because it's all monochrome like that. But yeah, that's me. Bought Breath of the Wild, so haven't really had the chance to dive into it yet, but going to soon. And yeah, I'm really hyped about it.
Exciting times, dude. And we got an exclusive Star Wars game hitting there later this year. We got Star Wars Hunters, you know?
This is true. I know. Now I can play it on my Switch.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say that the Lego Skywalker Saga is coming out too, and I feel like that is a perfect Switch game.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna do that as well. So
Plus, you got Delta Squad. What is Delta? Republic Commando launching in like a couple weeks. You know, that's gonna probably be a good Switch game. There's a bunch of Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, the true version of Episode 1 Racer. You can finally play that.
Yeah,
you got a lot of offerings.
When Republic Commando comes out, I think that's definitely going to be a purchase of mine. Because it's just too good to pass up, for sure.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play that. I have a clearly capable PC at this point that could at least run an old game like that, but I'm a controller snob, so I like using consoles. But
well, one of these days we have to hope that they put the original Battlefront 2 on the Switch, because then you, Jack, and I can play.
Absolutely.
That would be fun.
Well, now at least we can all play Hunters this year. That's gonna be fun.
True.
But why don't we kick the show off the way we normally do with our segment From the Jedi Archives, where, of course, we pull from the sacred text of Wikipedia to educate each other and the listeners about something in a galaxy far, far away. Mike, what did you pull this week? Let's hear it.
All right, so this was on the homepage of Wikipedia. I thought it was just so ridiculous that I had to bring it onto the show today. Honestly, I didn't know about this until I saw this on the homepage, but it's called a cliff wampa. Yep, a cliff wampa.
Okay.
It's from the Shadows of the Empire video game, I guess. And it was a product of Imperial Bioengineering. It's a manufactured subspecies of the wampa ice creature on Hoth. This one seems to be gray and light brown instead of white as the original wampa is, and it's on the Imperial controlled moon of Gaul. So yeah, it kind of just looks like a gray wampa. So it's like almost a Wookiee, but not at all.
Now, it's funny you say this because last year I streamed a little bit of Shadows of the Empire. I never finished it. I got close, so I should go back to it, but I did get to this level.
Oh.
And now
so you're familiar with the cliff wampa?
Yeah, I was like, when you said cliff wampa, I was like, well, I definitely saw a wampa in the Hoth level. But now I looked it up on this page, and I'm seeing these deceased stormtroopers. I absolutely know that location. It's very cool.
I mean, to me, the photo of that is featured on Wikipedia page. Is like, I don't know, it looks like it's just like, I don't know, 1 bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. What'd you pick?
Very nice. Well, I picked something. Again, I picked a thing that is reached out into our own world and become real from the Star Wars galaxy. The Ronto wrap.
Oh, I know about this.
Yeah.
I heard about this.
So,
yeah.
Ronto wraps were food items made from Ronto meat served in a flat piece of bread called a Ronto wrapper and topped with vegetables and clutch sauce. They were available at Podrace and Fanatic, Bakar's, Ronto roasters in Black Spire Outpost on the planet Batu, and were cooked by the droid 8DJ8. The mechanic Salju and Resistance spy V. Maradi both ordered Ronto wraps, while the former gave the latter a tour of the outpost. 8DJ8 once offered a Ronto wrap to the Claudite Remex IO, who turned it down.
Interesting. So this is like a Galaxy's Edge food, isn't it?
It is, and it looks delicious.
So, like, what are the ingredients? Do you know? Like,
so I believe it's like a type of a pork sausage, perhaps like chorizo or something like that.
Okay.
And it looks like it's wrapped in flatbread with maybe some coleslaw on top of it and a nice sauce. It looks delicious. It looks like something that would be a fantastic highlight at a barbecue.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, it's like kind of like a sausage hero kind of thing, but not actually.
Basically, yeah. Oh, I'm looking at, apparently it was featured in a comic as well. That's pretty fun. Yeah, they look yummy. It's a sausage link. Clutch sauce is funny, though.
Yeah, I wonder what that tastes like. I guess the question is, can you get this at the cantina? You know, while you're sipping on
A fuzzy tauntaun?
some Galaxy Far. Yeah, right. So
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I hope so.
So yeah, it looks very tasty. I would like to eat one day. So, but there you go. That is our pick for the Jedi Archives this week. Now let's hop into some news. Well, you know what? Why don't we go over the personal thing first? Because this is lower stakes.
Yeah, no, go over the personal thing, Christian. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so first up, officially, it's being booked this weekend. Myself and my girlfriend, who is featured on the show before, Kayla Karloff, we are traveling to Galaxy's Edge later this year or early next year. You know, we want to be post-pandemic, post-vax. We're going to experience Galaxy's Edge. Going to build a lightsaber. I'll show it off on the show when I get back. I'll have a full review. Very excited for that.
Yeah, you gotta like, I don't know. I don't want to ruin your vacation, but if you see a Ronto wrap, take some photos. You know, make sure that you bring them for show and tell.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what you gotta do.
Yes, I will have a full slideshow prepared.
Yes, please. No, so that's actually super exciting. I'm sure Kayla's excited to go too.
Oh hell yeah! I convinced her that we're gonna make lightsabers. Originally, it was just gonna be me, but I was like, no, we have to do this if we're going, you know. So,
what are you most excited about? Is it the lightsaber thing?
I'd be lying if I didn't say the lightsaber thing. I'm excited to drink a thermal detonator Coke. And you know, I hear amazing things about that Rise of the Resistance ride, dude. So like, I'm really excited to go on that. So, and of course the Falcon. So, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have to take your like obligatory photo in front of the Falcon.
Yeah, lightsaber out once it's dark. You know, nice good picture in front of the Falcon.
So is there any other are there any other plans? Are you just gonna go to like the regular Disney World as well and Universal or whatever?
So we're hitting all the parks except for Magic Kingdom, or no, sorry, Animal Kingdom. So Epcot, Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studio. We're doing all those. I've never been to Disney before, so it's my first time going.
Nice.
But yeah, that's going to be later this year. Excited for that. It's sort of like a graduation celebration. But yeah, I'll report back, Mike. If I see something that I know you'll like, I'll try to smuggle something out for you. But we'll see what happens in Galaxy's Edge.
I need a full review of Galaxy's Edge when you come back, Christian. So
absolutely. So look forward to that at some point in the next 12 months. So
I hope it's soon for your sake. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you still want to go at some point, right? You still want to check out this park?
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure, man. I feel like it's almost like, you know, you have to take your trip once in your life. You know, it's like a thing you have to do. It's almost like ritualistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I will be making my way to Galaxy's Edge, to Batu.
Yeah, hell yeah. Maybe, I think, you know, because I was doing a bunch of research over the last week, I think Disney Parks delayed a bunch of openings for things. So I think Avengers thing is next year. So maybe once that's open, Galaxy's Edge is going to be less of a hot topic. So maybe you can just like sneak on it or something. Get it here this year.
Are they making like a Marvel Land? Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
They're doing a thing called Avengers Campus. So.
Wow.
looking forward to that too. When I do my return trip in like 8 more years, I'll check that out.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for you to go to Disney World. It's a very cool place. So.
Oh yeah. The other thing, which you and I kicked around doing a full dedicated episode to at some point, and maybe we get Jack on as well, because I know he went through this recently. Look forward to that in the coming weeks probably. But KOTOR, I finished it. Completed.
When did you finish it?
Last Friday. I did my final bout in Knights of the Old Republic. Total playtime was about 29 hours.
Wow.
I didn't mess much with the side quests. I did a couple, but overall, gave it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a really good game. It's got some issues. I'd love a remake, but I enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, I remember when you first started playing it a few weeks ago, you weren't like super hot on it to begin with. This is you were questioning it a little bit.
Yeah, like I think there's a lot of really cool stuff in KOTOR. I think looking back at it, my biggest this needs work part was like, for some reason, maybe this is just me, but Manan, the planet with the Selkath, that took so long.
Yeah, it comes out of like nowhere, right? You just like totally don't expect that.
Yeah, like that was such a long, and that was like the third planet I did. I was like, really? I've never heard of this place before. It's the longest.
Wait, no,
are you talking about? Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's that other planet called?
Unknown
The one with,
World.
like all the
maybe.
Yeah, like the temples and the ruins and stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Selkath one was cool though. You get to go underwater.
Yeah, like it was cool. It just took me like 4 hours to get to that point. Like there was a lot of stuff to do there, and I did try to do that trial. Where it's like the person that knows Jolie, and they're like, "Hey, we need your help." I did part of that, and then like I got lost with something else, and I was like, you know what? I just want to get off this stupid water world. But everything else, like Kashyyyk, Tatooine, Korriban, all those planets were really fun and cool. And the story was very nice. And I think the other thing that was like actually a thing that I was let down by a bit was I didn't feel as incentivized to like spend time with my crew as I would have hoped. Like BioWare nailed that with Mass Effect 2, I think. Which was like 8 years after this, so I'm not holding it against them, but in a remake I would love that feature for sure.
Yeah, I mean they probably got criticized for that and changed for Mass Effect and everything. So did you have Karth in your squad a lot or no?
Never. I had him in for one story based moment. I think when we escaped the Leviathan. He was in the squad.
I love that part.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. I didn't love. Maybe it's just I wasn't sold on it enough. But the turn of spoiler, Bastila, kind of felt really random. Like, yeah. But very small issues at the end of the day.
Like the only way the Bastila turn doesn't feel random is if you play with Bastila a lot in your squad and you talk to her a lot, because like throughout the game she'll start to tell you that she feels differently about different things, and like you can start to get that, you can start to see where she's going, but like if you don't play with her you'll never see it coming.
Yeah, she was in the squad a good amount. I didn't talk to her like frequently, because again I streamed this, so I wasn't like really diving in. But yeah, overall, it's a good game. I'm glad I played it.
Yeah, I think it was very much ahead of its time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that held up really well, some stuff that didn't. But again, because of that remake, all on board. Let's go.
Exactly, man. I'm happy that you finally know what I'm talking about here. So,
But,
cool.
Now, why don't we dive into the world of news? Because first up, there was a Disney investors meeting last week, Mike, and
didn't we just have one of these?
Yeah, I don't know what this one was about, but recently they reported that they passed 100 million subs to Disney Plus, which not surprised. That's a huge number, but not surprised.
No, yeah.
And I don't know how this came up, Mike, in in an investors meeting, but somebody was like, I don't know if it was like a public forum at some point, but they were, or a journalist blog site, but they were like, so about Kathleen Kennedy, is she going to be fired? I don't know how the question was phrased, but that was the question that was asked.
Yeah, yeah.
And according to Bob Chapek, the new CEO of Disney, replacing Bob Iger, he said, quote, "We've been absolutely thrilled that we can have the creative talent in our company, the likes of Kathleen Kennedy. We look forward to having Kathleen directing Lucasfilm activities for years to come," end quote.
Wow, shot that down fast,
Yeah.
Disney.
Mm-hmm. Are you surprised? Are you shocked?
No, I'm not shocked at all, Christian. And I honestly like would love to know the circumstances of like how this question even came to be. Because that's like almost that's kind of like just disrespectful in a way,
Yeah.
you know?
Like, I get investors are really only worth their money, you know? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so maybe some of them are just stupid, you know? But like, maybe they saw that YouTube video, one of the million of them that have like 30,000 views, that's like, Kathleen Kennedy fired. It's like, they saw that headline, they're like, hey, so what's up? You know, like, I don't get it. I really don't.
I don't get it either. It's just I don't know, people like to find things to just like rag about, and we know that like unfortunately a lot of Star Wars fans are toxic as hell, and have pasts that are, you know, not the most shining examples of like humanity.
Right.
So I don't understand like where any of these people are coming from. I don't know why people are thinking Kathleen Kennedy is doing a bad job. She's making Disney a ton of money. Like, yeah, I think we've covered this on the podcast before. I think that people who think Kathleen Kennedy is going to be fired are morons, and I stand by that. Because she's like such a powerful woman and like has a very storied career. Like people don't realize that she's been doing this ever since E.T. in like the 80s.
Yeah.
So she knows what she's doing. And you don't like The Rise of Skywalker, but it still made Mickey Mouse a ton of money. So whatever.
There it is. You summed it up perfectly. I'll also add on, I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. If you think the reason you don't like some Star Wars projects is because of her, and it's her fault, you don't understand her job. You truly don't.
Seriously.
Like,
seriously.
So
I mean, she's just it's like asinine. It really is.
It really is.
It's so much more like a production like that is so much more nuanced than just one person making like calling all the shots. Like,
yeah. So like, I'll say this for listeners. I feel like we talk about it enough that the people who do listen to Jedi Knights know not to trust like those videos and stuff like that. But like, I'm not gonna name drop, but like if you see those videos that are like exactly the video you know I'm talking about, it's false. It's farming clicks, because you know, like it's that type of engagement that goes to further along that algorithm, and just they feed off the non-news. That's what it is. So like, don't get fooled by it. You're smart.
Seriously, it's like one of those things that if that were true, like there is a pot like. Sure, like Kathleen Kennedy could get fired from Lucasfilm. Like it's not going to happen, but like she could. You're not going to get that news from like, you know, I don't know, like those types of YouTube channels. Like they're not going to have the inside in on Lucasfilm. Like, and if they say they do, they're lying because they don't.
Yeah. So, speaking of asinine, somebody else I saw a recap of this, you know, from one of those like insider Twitter accounts that always like recaps these meetings as they're going. Yeah. So they were like, somebody, I'm shocked this was brought up, but somebody compared Pedro Pascal's comments about, like saying that Pedro Pascal's comments when he was talking about the children in cages, comparing that to the Holocaust, was the same of Gina Carano comparing being a Republican to being a Jewish person in Nazi Germany, the same thing. And apparently Chapek like maneuvered that very well, apparently. So
okay, well, good for him, because that's like ridiculous to say.
Yeah, man. Like, at an investor, like, who brings that up? I don't get it. I don't.
Yeah.
But
I really don't understand that. Like, it's just they're two different things. I really honestly like don't want to talk about Gina Carano anymore.
I don't either.
Yeah, she's gone forever. Bye.
Well, hopefully the final thing we'll have to bring up about her is that her Funko Pop is canceled. If you fuck that up, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, that's the last straw. Like,
No, I know. I mean, I see what you have here in the doc. Can you explain what this is? It seems like someone tried to buy the Cara Dune Funko Pop here.
yeah. So according to Diz.pop, who posted this email from Entertainment Earth, who I believe is the corporation that owns the Funko Pop brand, on their Instagram for Dizpop, they said that Cara Dune's line of Funko Pop is being discontinued. The official response was, unfortunately, we're sorry to report that the manufacturer has notified us we will not be receiving any additional shipments of the Star Wars The Mandalorian Cara Dune Pop vinyl figure you ordered because they have discontinued production of this item. No additional information was provided to us by the manufacturer as to why this occurred. Sadly, that means we will not be able to ship it to you and have canceled it from your order. We apologize for any inconveniences this causes.
I love how they have to say no additional information was provided to us by the manufacturer as to why this occurred, as if we don't know why this
happened. Yeah. Now, Mike, I'm gonna go on eBay right now.
Okay.
And I'm gonna look up how much it is for a Cara Dune Funko Pop.
Oh, true. I was thinking like the other day if they ever made any Black Series Cara Dunes.
So I'm seeing a large fluctuation right now. The sponsored post is $100, like the top one.
Wow.
I'm seeing a new listing, Star Wars Mandalorian Cara Dune Funko figure canceled, $400. So there you go. That's, again, to have your like Funko goes into production so early, and they're like, that's canceled too now. Like, good riddance. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I also looked up. You can buy. I didn't realize that Cara Dune had a Black Series figure made about her, and yeah, these are also going for about $100 on eBay right now. So
that's wild. Well,
that's crazy.
Speaking of other things being canceled, for some reason, both the Mandalorian visual guide and the original novel that was announced, I believe, on Amando Monday, have both been canceled. And what I find interesting about this, Mike, is because like DK Publishing, they're the people that make those big visual guides for all the movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Del Rey, who publishes all the new expanded universe content for Star Wars, they both posted something that's like basically worded the exact same way, with a keyword switched for what their project is, about the cancellation. So
interesting. So what did they say? What did they say?
They said, due to the ever-expanding world of The Mandalorian, we will no longer be publishing The Mandalorian Ultimate Visual Guide. That was in the DK tweet. In the Del Rey one, they said The Mandalorian Original Novel. At this time, as the story continues to unfold on screen. Interesting.
So, yeah. Here's my question. Do you think they just have to, like, I mean, I don't understand the visual guide as much as the book, but do you think they have to like rewrite the book because of Gina Carano?
I don't know, because I mean, we've heard those rumors recently of Rangers of the New Republic was going to be focused on Cara, but is now maybe being shifted to Harrison Dula. So like, I mean, that's the major shakeup, right? That would maybe influence a decision like this. But do you think that maybe they, I don't know, they're working on Book of Boba Fett right now. Do you think that the new direction they see there, something that's just working magically with that series, that they're like, wow, we have a new direction in mind for moving forward? Like, what do you read on that? Like, is it really just because of Cara Dune, or do you think there's more going on that is just fleshing out the future of the series?
So I don't know, because I would say that if it were just a novel, that maybe Cara Dune's exit could impact that, right? Maybe she had like a role in that book that was pretty heavy, and after all that stuff that happened with Gina Carano, they'd have to take her out, obviously. But the visual guide, on the other hand, I don't see that being as much of an issue. You know what I mean? Like that's just more, the things that are in the series, right?
Right.
I don't know. Because like the visual guide, like I said, doesn't really tell like a story. It's just basically like these are the things that are on the screen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what this means, to be honest with you. I don't think personally that it means that there's like a new direction that they're going to take these things in.
Yeah, because I don't know how the contract would work, but you'd assume if Gina's likeness is in the book, she has to be paid some sort of royalty for it, and maybe they just wanted a clean cut, and they're like, you know what, screw it, we'll just. But I feel like you could edit that out. I don't know how book publishing works, but if it's in the visual guide, just take her page out. Maybe I don't know, but
Well, that's the thing. Like, if she was in the novel and she was like a main character, right? You'd have to rewrite the novel or replace her character or something like that, right? With the visual guide, like just take her page out.
right. And even then, if
You
it was a
know?
novel, I don't think you have to pay her for like using her character in a book. And like you could use that. You could just maybe write an extra chapter and just be like, hey, this is her exit. We addressed it in the book. Move on in the show. Like
Right.
I don't know. It's weird if it really is because of this. It's weird to cancel both these projects. You know.
Yeah, no, I totally think you're right. It's definitely strange. And I mean, not for nothing, like Cara Dune like isn't part of the Star Wars canon forever now. And so like if she were in the visual guide, it still would make sense because like, you can go back and watch season 1 and 2 and she's always going to be in that, right?
Mhm.
Like, um, I don't know. I just don't think that it means that they necessarily change the direction. But like, since you brought that up, is that like where you were leaning with it, Christian? Do you think that's like what happened?
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, season 3 is going to be different. Compared to what their plan was, especially if Rangers is supposed to tie in with Ahsoka and Mando and Boba Fett, right? So maybe, but for the level of relevance that character has, you'd assume you could just maybe slot somebody else in there and keep the story the same. So the only other thing is like maybe now that they're in active production on more of these expanded Disney Plus universe shows for Mando, like maybe there's like sparks of creativity that's like, hey, maybe we could implement this, like replicating that original creativity, making it up as you go that they had with Star Wars. Obviously there's still a plan in line here, but maybe things are just working really, really well on the set of Book of Boba Fett, and they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe Tomorrow's really excited about this character being back, and we can integrate him into playing a larger role. Like,
Yeah.
I could see that be a case. I don't know how far along Ahsoka is into production or Rangers, but I don't imagine those would drastically change things, right? Like, it's on the set as you're going that makes the creativity spark of like new ideas more than anything, I think.
Yeah, I mean, another question I have is, didn't they already release like a Mandalorian Ultimate Visual Guide? Like, didn't they? Hasn't that already been published? Were they just thinking about making a second one for the
Uh,
second season?
I don't know. Let me fact check that.
Yeah. Oh, I
DK.
guess I guess no, it's not coming anymore. It was supposed to come out on July 1st, but
Mhm.
I guess not. So I thought that it had already come out. So,
I think this is
but
like an art book. Like maybe this is like the
yeah.
making of book, but this is like I had one of these for Phantom Menace. It's like it highlights lore about every like Darth Maul's lightsaber
Oh,
emitter gives you information about that, right? Like it tells you
I know.
everything.
I got the thick one for 1 through 6.
Yeah,
Like it's like this thick.
yeah. So this is less about the production of the show and more about the lore of the things that
Yeah.
no one would give you answers to. So interesting. I don't see why that would be canceled, right? Unless there's
Yeah,
anything else.
that's the thing. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, because it says that this is supposed to be like for seasons 1 and 2, which are already released. Like, maybe it was just like a publishing thing. Maybe it was like the publisher's fault. Like something happened and they
Yeah,
can't do it.
who
Or
knows?
I don't know.
Well, too bad. I think the
Too
author
bad.
who was working on the original novel, was brushed in to do a new Star Wars project though for Del Rey. So like, I'm still going to be able to work on Star Wars, but just very strange that these two specific things got axed. So I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, maybe they just were like, "Hey, focus on this instead." Actually,
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But
who knows?
You're not going to have to buy that visual novel, Mike. You know what else you're not going to have to buy anymore?
What's that?
At no additional cost, if you're a Game Pass subscriber on Xbox, you'll be able to play Star Wars Squadrons finally. So,
finally.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you've been waiting. You've been waiting to hit sub 10, but now it's no additional cost.
So the thing is, it's only on console, right?
Yes, but you do have an Xbox One, right?
No, I sold it, man. I know, that's sad. I mean, I have a PC and I have Game Pass for my PC, but I guess I'm just out of luck on this one.
That is unfortunate. I'm gonna pull up the Xbox Twitter account because I saw them tweet this out this morning. Yes, so they announced a bunch of new things coming to Game Pass for the coming weeks. There's some cool stuff in there, like the new Torchlight, Outriders, which is coming out soon, as well as Star Wars Squadrons, specifically coming to console Game Pass, not PC Game Pass.
That's a shame.
Yeah, that's too bad. I'm sorry. But, listeners, if you have an Xbox, if you have Game Pass, there you go. You can finally play.
Well, you know what I'm thinking about? If it's all in Game Pass, right, that means that people essentially get it for free. This may lower the price on other consoles.
That's true. Because, like, I think when Destiny 2 went free to play, it became like 99 cents for a disc of Destiny 2. Like, it, at least at GameStop, I think. Like, that's a trend, if something comes on like PlayStation Plus as a free game, or the game's gold, or anything like that, the physical copy like plummets. But
yes, that's what I'm saying. Maybe I can get like a digital key or something for like $7. I mean, I would do it if it goes sub 10, so I'm sticking by that, Christian.
Okay, well, I know you just invested in a Switch, so the new Xbox probably is not coming anytime soon, but hopefully,
no, probably not.
Hopefully, by the time you do get a new Xbox, this is still included in Game Pass. So we'll wait and see.
Hopefully.
That about does it for all the news in the world of Star Wars this week, Mike. So I'm going to throw it to you. We're going to continue this trend of March Madness with a brand new Star Wars March Madness bracket. Mike, run us through what's going on today.
All right, so we, like Christian said, have been doing a different bracket every single week. We first started off with Star Wars video games. We went through, I think it was 12 or so Star Wars video games. And I forget which one took the cake on that one, Christian.
I believe it was Jedi Fallen Order.
Right, Jedi Fallen Order. And then we did, Best Jedi. That was last week. 16 Jedi going head to head in a bracket to the death. No, I'm just kidding. But the Jedi who came out on top for that, I believe, was
Ahsoka Tano.
It was Ahsoka, right? My bad. Anyway, so today we're doing, the Star Wars villain ranking. So I picked 16 different villains. This is a combination of Sith and non-Force users, and just your general sort of ranking of villains. I put Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine as the first and second seed. The rest of them are sort of just random, because I couldn't really figure out who would be above who, and I figured that would be that's the whole point of this bracket in the first place. So let's figure it out.
Yeah, because like, to be fair, outside of Vader and Palps, pretty much every other villain is fodder. Like, they have their movie, they have their project, and then they're gone. Essentially. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, I think also, Christian, maybe we should set some ground rules. Like, what will we be evaluating these characters on?
Because last week, I'm glad you bring that up, because with our Jedi bracket, a large determining factor was like comparing their morals and deeds to the standard of what we believe a Jedi should be. I think that's hard here, because it's like, what's the worst thing they did? is tough, you know? Uh,
Right.
Maybe judging them on how effective they were at executing their plans and their deeds, perhaps.
Okay. Maybe that, and or devotion to their own stated cause,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That seems a little more abstract, but I think I
Yeah.
like what you said better, Christian.
Yeah, well, I think devotion to their ideals is still, fair because there's plenty of Jedi who are wishy-washy, Luke, the reason Luke didn't win is because he went to hiding for 30 years, That was
True
it.
that.
That was the deciding factor, so we'll see. Um, and I think cool factor might have to come into play with the villains, if that's the thing
Oh, for
we
sure.
can get behind. Like their coolness, like how cool their weapon is, or their energy.
Yeah.
I think that might be another
Just
deciding
their
factor.
general swag. I feel you.
Sure. Yeah. So,
All right.
who's this first matchup? Let's hear it.
All right. So, like I said, we have 16 different contestants here. Can I just name them all really quick?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. So, we got Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine as the number 1 and 2 seeds. And then, in no particular order, really, just Count Dooku, Darth Maul, the Second Sister, Kylo Ren, Asajj Ventress, Supreme Leader Snoke, General Grievous, Boba Fett, Marchion Ro, Jango Fett, Dryden Voss, Director Krennic, Bosk, and Thrawn. So those are the 16 that I've picked.
Nice.
And yeah, what's that?
I will absolutely need a refresher on probably one of them or two of them, but we'll see how this goes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like, do you recognize all the names, right?
Oh yeah. I just mean like
Okay.
specifically their deeds. Like I'm not super well versed on Thrawn, so I'll defer to
Okay,
you
fair.
on that one, but we'll see.
Fair enough. All right, fair enough. All right. So the first matchup that we have here, round one, match number one, we have the number 1 seed Darth Vader going against the number 16 seed Thrawn, and already I'm like, this is really difficult because um, Christian, like you said, you're not as versed on Thrawn as I am, and if anyone who's read Thrawn Alliances, you know that these two characters, they play off each other in very different ways, in very interesting ways, and they are similar in very interesting ways too, in terms of like their tacticality and like their mindset and just like their overall intelligence. Um, so yeah, this is like really tough one. They're both really cool.
Now, again, I'm sorry because I don't have a Thrawn knowledge. I really know almost nothing about him outside of how beloved he is by fans. Like it's Darth Vader, dude. Like
I know.
like I'll give you this if you can make a good argument here, go for it. But like he did end up turning coat. He did.
Uh-huh.
He rejected his ways. However, maybe he stuck to the core of the Sith and he killed his master. He didn't replace him, but he killed him.
Mm-hmm.
But he did. He became a Jedi, right? Well, I mean, like Vader kind of died, and
Yeah.
then Anakin really didn't do anything good. He like. So I don't know how much redemption there is there. I think it's a big gray area with that character, but he kind of committed genocide almost. So like I think he's
Yeah.
an effective villain.
He's definitely an effective villain. However, like I am a little torn on this because for those who don't know, like Thrawn is like he's blue skinned alien. He's from the Chiss ascendancy. He basically was found on purpose by the Empire. He did it on purpose. Thrawn did it on purpose, and rose up the ranks of the Empire and became Grand Admiral Thrawn. Um, he is an extremely intelligent being, like the greatest military tactician of all time, super smart, very cunning, and sort of ruthless in his ways. Um, Darth Vader and Thrawn are kind of interesting because like they both sort of like have these elements of like betrayal,
Mm-hmm.
sort of running like underneath them. Darth Vader obviously betrays the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, and Thrawn has like ulterior motives since he is like Chiss. So it's interesting to sort of like put them head like up against each other. However, Darth Vader, I think, was just like extremely ruthless in the way that he did things. The only thing that sort of pulls me back on Darth Vader is the fact that he turned and basically became not a villain anymore. Thrawn, maybe his allegiances changed. However, he was always like, not the best kind of guy.
Because also I think we have to take into consideration, and I know you talked about this with the book Bloodlines, like to the galaxy, nobody cares. Like nobody cares about Anakin. Nobody even knows about Anakin becoming the hero at the end, right? Like, so in universe, Vader never turned. Vader died at the hands of Luke Skywalker. Yeah, right. And I also want to ask you this: who do you think had a more impressive uprising as a villain? Because like Anakin kind of stumbled into it. He was kind of duped, Like obviously there was the years of build up and distrust there, but it was kind of just like a little trickery from old Sheev that just gave him the big push, right? Like it sounds like Thrawn really had to fight tooth and nail to get up those ranks, Because like the Empire's racist too, and he's an alien.
Well, yeah, actually, if you read the new canon Thrawn book, like the first one written by Timothy Zahn for the new canon, there is a lot of discussion about the fact that the Empire is like super racist to Thrawn, and that book is like very interesting because it basically chronicles his upbringing, not upbringing, his rise through the Imperial ranks. That's interesting. Darth Vader, though, is a Sith apprentice. He literally had to burn in lava to become who he is. And I don't know, man. I just feel like it would be wrong to give it to Thrawn over Darth Vader. Like, it's Darth Vader, dude. Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just an issue of this matchup, right? If Thrawn was against anybody else except maybe Palpatine, I'm sure he'd be moving on to second round, but like it's Vader, Like
I think it
There and
in off
one last thing, there is something to be said about just how well known. Like Vader's iconic, and I think that's part of it. Thrawn looks cool.
Yeah,
for sure. But
Thrawn does look cool. You know what I would say? Like if we seeded this like correctly, this matchup probably shouldn't be happening this early. But since it is, we're just gonna go with it. I think we should just move Darth Vader on to round 2.
Sounds good. I can agree with that, knowing nothing about that.
All right. So. Okay, co-sign the Darth Vader. Moving on. All right. So the second matchup that we have in round 1, we have the number 8 seed Supreme Leader Snoke against the number 9 seed General Grievous, and I actually think this is an interesting sort of matchup. We have a Force user versus a non-Force user, but can we even really categorize Snoke as a Force user? Because he was sort of created, so was General Grievous as well. So
Sure. Here's my thinking out the gate. Snoke was a lab experiment gone wrong. Grievous was brought back from the grave essentially because of how skilled he was, and he was able to learn the ways of saber dueling and the ways of the Jedi just on raw skill and strength. Like,
yeah,
I'm much more impressed with the rise and resume of General Grievous than Snoke.
Agreed. especially because there were just a bunch of other Snokes in the tube in episode 9.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not unique. He's not cool,
He could have been cool. We're looking at you, JJ.
Yeah. He really he could have,
Johnson.
No, because the thing is, Rian Johnson saw through the shades. He saw how weak of a character this Snoke guy was. I was like, you know what? We don't need him. So
you don't really. Yeah. Yeah, no, General Grievous. For you want to just educate the listeners really quick with like General Grievous's like quick background.
Sure.
I don't know. I think it's Legends, but
yeah. So Grievous, I believe his original name was Chiar or something like that.
Something like that.
He was a legendary warrior on his planet, and he fought in like a huge war. He was basically fatally wounded and was eventually became a cyborg for prolonging his life and his knowledge as a tactician and a warrior. And eventually, come time for the Clone Wars, Count Dooku recruited him and sort of, I think he probably also gave him like a better cyborg suit, or probably, right? Like, and in that recruitment, he passed on the knowledge that he passed on to Qui-Gon Jinn, basically, to General Grievous. And General Grievous was the general of the droid army for the entire Clone Wars. So,
yeah, I think it's that you did a good job with the backstory. It's really interesting. Unlike any other character really in Star Wars, I would say. And he is, though he doesn't have the Force and was easily bested by Obi-Wan Kenobi, he was a force to be reckoned with, as we see through the Clone Wars TV show. And he's quite skilled with the lightsaber, even though he doesn't have the Force. So, yeah, I think this is an easy one. I think I would put Grievous over Snoke.
Yeah, what did Snoke do? Like, he manipulated a Skywalker. Big whoop. Anybody can do that. Like, clearly.
He melded two Force users' minds together, but he didn't actually even do it.
Yeah. Tough luck.
Boring.
Boring. Impress me.
All right. So General Grievous easily beats Snoke in that matchup.
Ooh, this next one's interesting.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one, we have the number 4 seed Darth Maul versus the number 13 seed Dryden Voss. This is like, wow, we got like internal syndicate strife right now.
Yeah, master and apprentice.
Right. So I think we should state the obvious. Darth Maul is a Sith badass who can use the Force and has a double-bladed lightsaber. In Dryden Voss, the side of his face gets all like gray when he gets angry. So those are the two characters that we have. What do you think about this?
I mean, I like his space brass knuckles. I like Paul Bettany.
Sure.
So, but
I always forget that it's Paul Bettany. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I would say if we didn't have Clone Wars, it'd be much closer, and I'd probably say Dryden because I think he's an interesting character. But with Clone Wars, it's Maul. It's easily Maul.
Easily Maul. Yeah, he's so cool.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, like before the Clone Wars and everything, in the dark period when all Star Wars fans thought that Darth Maul died in Episode 1, I still thought he was cool. So that's just me.
And he terrified me as a child. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool looking guy. He's basically Satan.
He's scary. Yeah, that is what George Lucas wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's really scary, really cool character. I'm really glad that they brought him back from the dead and made him an even better character, for sure.
Yeah, like, again, without Clone Wars, I think I'd probably not be leaning that way, but I think far and away because of Clone Wars, it's Maul. So
I have to say, though, that I really do like Dryden Voss. I think he's a very interesting villain. And watching Solo, like, he's definitely one of the stronger aspects of that film.
Yeah, and talking about, like, the cool factor, like, dude has a space yacht and, like, this, like, gold and black interior, very glossy, very classy. He's got those, like, vibro knuckles that have, like, the laser. He's got some cool stuff going on, for sure.
He definitely does. The space yacht is really cool. I love the scene when they're all, like, in the the space yacht bar, and like it's very like, yeah, very futuristic, very cool. Definitely. For sure. Okay, so Darth Maul easily wins that match. Moving on to our fourth match in the first round, we have the number 5 seed, the second sister, versus the number 12 seed, Jango Fett. Interesting.
Where are you leaning on this one?
Honestly, I'm kind of leaning toward the second sister on this because Jango Fett, while he was like definitely the most notorious bounty hunter for his time in the galaxy, was easily bested by a Jedi. Basically, like the first time he had to go up against one, or second time he had to go up against one. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. So the second sister is very skilled with her powers and everything like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to say that Jango Fett was the template for the clone army as well, right? Like, I think there's something there. I've always had a soft spot for Jango Fett, mainly because of the bounty hunter game. But yeah, like, I love his fight with Obi-Wan. He doesn't really do much, he's kind of just retired. on this facility until a Jedi shows up, and he's like, ah, shit, all right, like,
Yeah.
Failed to kill Padme, so he didn't really even assassinate anybody in terms of what we saw. So second sister though, yeah, second sister. I mean, I feel like it's pretty even here, you know.
Yeah.
In terms of what they did, but I think she has a cooler backstory. I don't know much about Django's backstory, but her setup as a abandoned apprentice turning to the Inquisitors is interesting.
I do think that is interesting. The only thing is like in the last moments of the second sister's life, she sort of like relented in a way, right? From like being a Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Jango Fett was like true to the cause the entire time, which his cause was really himself.
Yeah.
And you got to respect that.
You do, and I'm still trying to think, like, what did Django do in the movies? Like, he's not in Clone Wars. What did he do in the movie? What did he get done?
He hired somebody else to do his job.
Who also hired somebody else who sent out a robot to do his job.
Right. Yeah, he hired somebody else who then hired somebody else to do the job. He escaped. He was really bad at escaping because Obi-Wan easily tracked him.
Mm-hmm.
He almost died to Obi-Wan, and then he died to Mace Windu.
Yes.
He arrested Anakin and Padme, and then died to Mace Windu.
Yeah, so pretty weak. Like second sister, she kills someone, doesn't she? She kills what's his name?
Oh yeah, the guy like right at the beginning.
Yeah, Cal's buddy.
Yeah, that guy.
She kills him. I think she's like her or the ninth sister work together and like they capture the crew, right? Like at one point, she was able to like subdue Cal a couple times. So she did some stuff.
Does the second sister, am I thinking about this incorrectly, but does she sort of like relent from the dark side near like the end of her life in her last moments, or am I thinking about that completely wrong?
I think when she sees Seer, she has a moment, like the Sith are very emotional, so she just lets all that out, but I don't know if she relents as much as she fails against Cal, and then when she knows Vader's there, she realizes like, oh, I'm done.
Right. Yeah, I'm reading. She says "avenge me" before. Yeah. So she does kind of realize the faults of her ways.
Sure. Yeah. But I'll go second sister. I think we've laid it out enough where she did stuff. She definitely did some things, and I think Django's more implied that he did things. But
all right, second sister wins over Jango Fett here. All right, so moving on, we got the number 2 seed Emperor Palpatine versus the number 15 seed Bossk, and I think the winner here is clear: Bossk over Palpatine. Moving on.
Well, hey, you can't count out how OP Bossk is in Battlefront 2.
Yeah, true.
There's something to say there.
1v1 Emperor Palpatine versus Bossk in Battlefront 2. Who would win?
Bossk, no question. Palpatine.
Yeah,
Palpatine sucks in Battlefront, dude. Like, he's not good.
Yeah. No. He does suck in Battlefront 2.
Yeah, but yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say clearly this is an obvious choice, I think. Bossk isn't even really in the movies.
Yeah, like I think Bossk is cool,
Yeah.
If he shows up in Book of Boba Fett, maybe Bossk has a renaissance. That'd be fun, but
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And Dengar.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, Palpatine orchestrated a war where he was commanding both sides. Dude died and came back
like three times. Yeah. He did that 3 times.
Yeah. So it's Palpatine here.
Yeah, totally. Okay, next matchup we have the number 7 seed Asajj Ventress versus the number 10 seed Boba Fett. And what do you think about this one, Christian?
Again, before Mando season 2, despite my issues with Asajj kind of being useless in a lot of Clone Wars, I probably would have said Asajj because she does stuff, you know. She doesn't die randomly. She she gets targeted by her master and then becomes a successful bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I think Asajj goes places in time, you know. I think that's worth commending, but post Mando season 2, I think Boba Fett being characterized. Well, actually, Mike, would you, with all the content we have now, would you say that Boba Fett is a villain or an anti-hero?
Yeah, I don't think Boba Fett's really a villain.
Yeah.
But I think like he's more often than not sort of like placed in that category.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say maybe before Mandalorian season 2, you could say, you know, he's a bounty hunter, so he probably just does what he wants, which makes him sort of a bad guy, you know,
but then
because he's sort of selfish.
Is Din Djarin a bad guy at that point?
Exactly. I mean, surface level, yeah.
Right.
But then you have Mandalorian season 2 that sort of fleshes out his character, and you see that there's a lot more going on in Boba Fett's brain than just I'm looking out for myself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You start to see that, like, you know, tastes of a little bit more nuance in the character, and it's like, yeah, you could look at Din Djarin the same way, but then you start to see what he's going through, and you understand that like he's not doing it for himself at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we just don't know much about Boba's past and like why he does the things that he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mandalorian season 2 hints that there's something larger going on.
Yes.
And I just don't see how you could put Asajj Ventress over Boba Fett, especially during the Boba-sance that we're in right now. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think if you do want to bring up the idea that I brought up of Boba Fett maybe not being a strict villain, Ventress gets to that point too, you know? Like, she gets to the point where she's in his position, right? She's a bounty hunter looking out for herself. Like, that's where we get to with her. So it's funny that these two are paired up because they're kind of similar in their arcs of where we get to be with them, but I know we said cool factor. Boba Fett's entire reason for existing is because he looks cool, so I think that plays a big role here as well.
Listen, I'm trying to term the coin Boba-sance, and we can't, you know, we have to choose him. I think.
Yeah. I'm leaning Boba Fett, but I do think Asajj could put up a fight here. So
I think so. I think so too. She definitely is probably more villainous than Boba. But in terms of just the cool factor and everything else, Boba takes it on this one.
For sure.
All right, so moving on, we have the number 3 seed Count Dooku against the number 14 seed Director Krennic. So yeah, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Count Dooku is a character that's been through a lot of ups and downs. Wasn't always a villain, right? Director Krennic, on the other hand, just, you want to talk about selfish. He definitely is the epitome of that, and had nefarious reasonings for everything that he was doing, basically since, you know, day one, it seems. So then again, you know, Director Krennic can't use the Force and doesn't have a lightsaber, so there's that as well.
Yeah, Count Dooku is interesting because I'm sure if I got an entire list of all the things he did, you know, it'd be like, yes, okay, clearly he's villainous. But at the same, like, he opposed the Jedi with the Separatists, right? And the Separatists, in a way, sort of eventually evolved into the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's maybe something there. But at the same time, like, yeah, he's a villain. You know, he's got a red lightsaber for a reason. But
this is true. Yeah.
Krennic. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say though, like, if you're talking about like people who are like purely villainous, though, like, it just seems like Count Dooku was sort of just like on the wrong side of the political aisle, and that got used to his disadvantage. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it seems like he was just he just disagreed with the Jedi, and we know that he was a politician from Serrano, and maybe he was like seriously just like a proponent of this, of the Confederacy of independent systems. You know what I mean? Maybe he just didn't believe in the Republic and the way that they were handling things, and that got co-opted for nefarious use and for Palpatine taking him on as his apprentice and him sort of realizing this new power that the Jedi didn't allow him to use. Like, I don't necessarily know if like his if everything that he's done sort of like comes from such a bad place, like not to say that he's done bad things, he definitely has in Star Wars canon, but like maybe he was just misunderstood at first. Am I making any sense here?
No, I get what you're saying, because like, there's that ideology in Qui-Gon to a certain extent, and there's that line in 2 where he's like, hey, if Qui-Gon were here, he'd be at my side, which who's to say? We don't know, but I think if you compare that, because I do think that's a factor of Dooku's character, right? Like, the Count turning into... Because the thing is, he's never referred to as Darth Tyrannus, that's his Sith name, but he's never called that because he doesn't sort of fit that mold, I guess.
Yeah. It's just like, for good storytelling, the Star Wars prequels are going to paint this Confederacy of Independent Systems, the CIS, like the Separatist Alliance, as the bad guys, right? Mm-hmm. But like, there were people in the galaxy who just didn't agree with like the Republican form of government, right? Like that, and that was just the only reason why they were on the CIS's side, right? It's all from like a certain point of view, like. Maybe Count Dooku just thought that his planet was being... Well, I mean, but like maybe he thought Serrano was just being like shafted by the Republic and he was sick of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad person, but that sort of contrarian ideology on his side sort of brought him to this Sith world. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting too into Count Dooku here, but
no, I think it's worth bringing up because I've never loved Dooku as a villain. I don't think, because I think compared to even the other prequel villains, he doesn't like stack up fully. Clone Wars, of course, fleshes that out a bit, but even then, in Clone Wars, like he tried to kill his apprentice, and he brought in a new apprentice. Like, he wanted to overthrow Palpatine, but was that just out of, obligation for this rule of 2? Like, he's like, oh, I did the research, I gotta kill him at some point. Like,
right, yeah.
I don't know. He never really feels like fully devoted. Like, it feels like he's much more in it for the in the moment reasons than the big picture. Krennic, on the other hand, I think if you're evaluating his one movie, I don't know if he has extended content, but Dooku we've seen a lot of. Krennic, I think, in his maybe like 20 to 30 minutes of screen time in just one movie, he sells it. He sells being this lost person so deep in the ideology of the Empire, and he is the reason, in term with Galen Erso as well, but like, he's the reason that Alderaan blows up. He's the reason for the Death Star, and I think creating the Star Wars' equivalent of the atom bomb and being proud of it, that it can blow up planets, and demonstrating that and wiping out the holy city of Jeddah. Like, I think there's more to Krennic's deeds in a shorter time span, where we're not questioning it the way that we can go back and forth on Dooku, where I could maybe vote for Krennic here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dooku is just not as villainous and as people like to give him credit for. I think, going up against director Krennic, I just agree with a lot of what you said about what, like, his performance in Rogue One. And Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and I always liked director Krennic. I always thought he was a very captivating villain. And yeah, man, I would easily say Krennic over Dooku for sure.
And you want to talk about devotion? Dude had every opportunity to turn coat when his superior was like, "Oh, so I'm going to take credit for this." He
exactly, yeah.
But he didn't. He was devoted till death for the Empire, where lesser villains would be like, "Okay, not going to do that. He did go above his superior's head to Vader to try and tattletale, but, you know, he got slapped into place, and then he just kept on being like, okay, I'm a cog. I'm going to keep going. So, Krennic.
Yeah, no, it was. I think Krennic for sure. Krennic takes this one. So moving on to match number 8, I think we should say what this is. This is number 6 seed Kylo Ren versus the number 11 seed Marchion Ro. And you know I had to throw Marchion Ro into this list, man, because I put Avar Chris in the last list that we did. I was thinking the same way. Marchion Ro versus Kylo Ren. This is really hard. But we have 3 movies with Kylo Ren. We see his full arc. We have 1 book with Marchion Ro where he was just getting started. What do you think about this one?
Kylo Ren went through a phase.
He did.
Not a villain. Well, he does villainous things, but he's not like, he doesn't stack up against some of these others, right? Like,
you don't think blowing up Hosnian Prime is like a villainous thing to do?
Well, if we want to get technical, Mike,
Hux
did that.
Come on, we all know who. Yeah. Come
on. Marchion Ro, I guess, like, had put the idea in Kylo's head, right? He tried to blow up a star system with his plan. He failed, but that's just because Avar was so strong. Kylo was handed everything on a silver platter with no opposition. You know,
right?
He's a whiny brat, and as much as I love Kylo Ren as a character, and for those reasons, and I think he's a very interesting antagonist when you take into account all these reasons and fitting in that villain role. I think similar to Krennic, what Marchion Ro did in 1 book gives me more villain energy than what Kylo did. He was a sad emo teenager that's 30 years old.
No, that's very true. Kylo Ren is, maybe not the most, definitely not. Kylo Ren did bad stuff. Does that make him a villain?
Technically.
Technically, right? I guess so, but like, isn't that the whole question of the sequel trilogy in a way, right? Like, his redemption and everything.
If these characters can be redeemed from, like, tossing a coin and it flips on heads and it's like, oh, guess they're good now. Like, I don't know how villainous you can say they are when they're compared to, like I don't see a redemption arc for Marchion Ro in his.
No, yeah, and I don't think that that's the point of Marchion Ro, right? I don't think it's ever going to get to that point. So, if we're talking about the more villainous character, I think Marchion Ro is definitely more villainous at its core, his heart of hearts, than Kylo Ren.
Agreed. So, love you, Kylo, but no.
Yeah, no, Marchion Ro is just more of a badass than you. Okay, moving on to round 2. We got the number 1 seed Darth Vader against the number 9 seed General Grievous. Interesting.
2 cyborgs.
So, 2 cyborgs. Didn't General Grievous, his past self, didn't he like lose his wife as well, or something like that?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Right? Didn't he have some like romantic issue?
Yes, he did, for sure.
Becoming a cyborg.
I looked up the original name also for Grievous. Qymaen. I'm gonna say Kaiman Jai Shilal is the name of Grievous.
Okay. All right.
So, where are you leaning on this one, Mike?
I mean, it's hard to deny Darth Vader, right?
Yes.
Like, Great General Grievous is cool and everything, and he's definitely a really bad dude. But is he worse than Darth Vader? Like, probably not.
Yeah, like, the only thing I could maybe hear is that, again, similar to Krennic, Grievous was loyal to the end, even when things weren't going his way, and Vader, turned. He came back to the light. So I think there's something there. I think on screen we have more evidence and seeing Grievous play the tactician the way that we're told Vader has, but even in the expanded universe, we haven't covered all the Vader stuff. There's so much Vader content from books and comics that I think would flesh that out enough that, like, it's Darth Vader. It's Darth Vader.
Have to. It's just, Yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, General Grievous, but maybe next time. All right, moving on to the next matchup. We got the number 4 seed Darth Maul versus the number 5 seed, the Second Sister. And this is actually a cool matchup. Just like in my head, I'm thinking like what would happen if both of them like fought each other, and I feel like it would be lots of flipping and like I don't know,
some force floating,
force floating, right?
Yeah. You have one way or the other, because I feel like there's a clear winner.
There's a clear winner here for me at least. Darth Maul for sure.
Yeah.
We've had more time with him. He's just more evil all the way through. So yeah, Darth Maul for sure. Moving on to the next matchup, we got the number 2 seed Emperor Palpatine versus the number 10 seed Boba Fett. And I think your previous point, Christian, about is Boba Fett really a villain or is he an anti-hero is something that we need to sort of come on a conclusion to, because versus Emperor Palpatine, I feel like, if he is an anti-hero, then he's definitely not winning this one.
Yeah, I mean, even if he wasn't, like,
yeah,
what did he do? He froze Han Solo, who, he was out for a year, maybe, and then like he's on the bench for a bit. Yeah, it's Palpatine. It's easy. It's
Palpatine for sure. All right, so moving on to the next matchup here, we have the number 14 seed Director Krennic versus the number 11 seed Marchion Ro. And so we kind of have like the two black swans from past round coming up against each other. So what do you think about this one, Christian? They're sort of similar in their villainous ways.
Yes. Marchion Ro, we've seen the beginnings of,
yes.
Krennic, unless we get a novel, we've seen Krennic's resume,
Yeah, we've seen everything for him.
I think there's really, Mike, I don't love Rogue One. I think it's good, but like Krennic is one of my favorite parts of that movie.
Same.
I think he fills in that, we got to see Tarkin in Clone Wars, which bolstered Tarkin, but I was never like big on Tarkin. I think Krennic was able to fill in that role of an Imperial officer in a great way that nobody else really has, even with Tarkin's Clone Wars stuff.
Pretty terrifying in that movie, honestly.
Yeah, so while Marchion Ro, I think there's something to say about organizing the Nile and what issues that could bring upon the Jedi, and what long-term effects that might have to see where the Jedi end up in the prequels. It's worth exploring, but as of right now, I think I'd still lean Krennic for the same reasons I said last time. Like, dude created the nuke, basically, of the Star Wars universe. That's a lot to say.
Yeah, he's like he's like the what was that guy's name? Oppenheimer or whatever. He's
Eisenhower?
No, the Manhattan Project guy.
Oh yes, okay.
I was at Oppenheimer or something.
I think so.
He's basically that of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, not to say that we get more High Republic content, and obviously they're going to flesh out Marchion Ro, and I'm sure he's going to do more bad stuff. But for now, I think we've seen more of Krennic, and we have a better feeling for who his character is since we've seen basically his whole story. That's noteworthy. Mm-hmm. Krennic for sure on this one. Sorry, Marchion Ro. Agreed. He looks so cool.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So we're moving on to the semifinal rounds here. We have the number 1 seed Darth Vader versus the number 4 seed Darth Maul. This is a good one, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's tough because I think if you lay out everything they both did, they can be pretty evenly matched in terms of bad things that have been done. Obviously, Vader killed more Jedi, killed children as well. But I think it's. I threw this question at you round 1 with Vader and Thrawn. Their upbringing. Anakin, kind of stumbled into the dark side. You could say there were seeds, of course, but he slipped on a banana peel and suddenly everything clicked. That's kind of what happened for him. Maul was born and raised, I believe, on Mustafar and trained his whole life to come out of the shadows and destroy the Jedi. And he sort of he was the trigger for all of this, right? Like he was.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to say devoted to a cause, he still did bad things after, you know, he was usurped in his role as the apprentice. You know, took over Mandalore, became a crime lord.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess it really comes down to like Darth Vader wasn't always Darth Vader, right? But Darth Maul, from a very young age, after he was taken off of Dathomir, was trained, like you said, to be like the most evilest dude ever. Darth Vader, on the other hand, like you said, just sort of fell into it and eventually redeemed himself.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about just consistency throughout one's life, I would say Darth Maul probably was just evil, baseline evil. Like, you know what I mean? Darth Vader kind of had his up and downs. And not to say that he didn't do his fair share of really bad stuff, because he also committed genocide. But Darth Maul, was complicit as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just was villainous in his own way, I think.
And I don't know if I'd even say that, like, and I know you didn't say this, but I wanted to bring it up. Like, I don't know if I'd even say that Darth Maul failed in Phantom Menace. Like, his goal was to show up, disrupt the Jedi, be like, "Hey, the Sith are back, bitches," and then he killed Qui-Gon, who, according to Dave Filoni, if that didn't happen, maybe Anakin wouldn't have become Darth Vader. You know, so like,
yeah,
I think there's something to say about Darth Maul. I think on the coolness factor, I think they're kind of tied. I think Darth Maul looks sick, but
yeah. I mean, Darth Vader though is just iconic.
yeah, you're right.
If we're talking about the iconic factor, everybody knows who Darth Vader is. Less people know who Darth Maul is.
Less people know he's still alive. Honestly,
less people know he's still alive. Everyone was confused when he showed up in Solo.
yeah, they're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I would be fine giving it to Maul over Vader for those reasons. I feel like we sort of like it's quite the upset, but I feel like we gave our arguments.
Yeah, like maybe we're underselling Vader, but I do think the way that we're looking at all of these villains, I think Maul, his consistency and his tenacity, I guess, because he spent like 10 years in a pit just living off his hatred. Like, I think.
Yeah, that's a crazy. Like,
Yeah, I think I don't know, man. In my gut, I'm thinking Maul.
in my gut, I'm thinking Maul too. He was just devoted to being evil, I think.
Yeah, because even in like the Soul comic, we see Vader have some thoughts of Padme and all these things of like, hey, my life that once was. Maul does not care. That's past.
Yeah, no, he doesn't care at all. Interesting. Okay, cool. So we got Maul winning over Vader. Let's move on to the second and final semifinal match. The number 2 seed, Emperor Palpatine, over the number 14 seed, versus the number 14 seed, Director Krennic. Yeah.
I know it's boring, but it's Palpatine, right? Like,
Yeah, it is boring, but it has to be.
he's the ultimate evil. He really is.
Yeah, it's true. It
'Cause
really is.
think of what Krennic has. Like, first off, Krennic was on Palpatine's payroll. You know, like Palpatine hired this man essentially. And Krennic, yes, devoted to science, created the star. Palpatine contracted it, so it was his idea. And also, if you want to just look at on a tactics level, yeah, Krennic was a smart, leader, but Palpatine again orchestrated a war and played both sides. Like, yeah.
Oh man, he orchestrated like multiple wars.
Yeah.
He was playing the long game, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's Palpatine over Krennic for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to our bronze match, which I think we should do first before the final match.
Sure.
We have the number 1 seed Darth Vader versus the number 14 seed Director Krennic. And I think since we snubbed Vader in the semifinal rounds, you have to give the third place to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least we can do. Director Krennic, I think, deserves the 4th place here. I just think it's really no question Vader versus Krennic. Do you agree?
No, I agree. As much as I'd love Krennic to be bronze, like it's impossible. It really is. Like it's Vader.
Yeah, but we can't in good faith do that, I don't think.
No, yeah, it's far and away like there's no fighting chance. Like I'd love to award it to him, but it's impossible against this matchup. It's Darth Vader, So
yeah. Well, I mean, 4th place I think is really good.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't expect Krennic to get that far in the tournament. So.
Mm-hmm.
That moves us on. Yeah, proud of him. That moves us on to our last match, though, final match. The number 4 seed, Darth Maul, versus the number 2 seed, Emperor Palpatine. And Christian, this is it, baby.
It is. Now, these two have fought, canonically.
Yeah.
Palpatine was able to bring Maul to his knees without breaking a sweat. He allowed him to live and continue on whatever he was doing with, like, the final arc of Mandalore, and then he was able to, live and eventually create this crime ring. Like,
yeah.
I know it's boring, but I think it is Palpatine, right? Like, he's the winner.
He's definitely the winner. It is boring, but it's like I saw it coming, honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that's a credit to Palpatine and the original intent of the Emperor and Lucas, right? Like, for your first villain, essentially, like obviously Vader, but Palpatine was looming in A New Hope and in 5, but he was the end game for your first major villain to persist after all this time and be the best villain out of these 16. Like, I think that's impressive. That was his intent. He wanted to create the ultimate evil for Luke to overcome.
Oh yeah.
And clearly he did it.
I mean, when I think about when I think about the word villain, I feel like Palpatine comes into my head. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Palpatine is one of the first.
One of the first characters that comes to my head, because when you're talking about just pure evil and just plotting and manipulation and just patience and all that kind of stuff, he is the perfect villain. He's been thinking about every possibility. He's been taking notes. He's been there since day one in the shadows, and you have to respect it. He found a way to survive being thrown down a shaft just to create more conflict. That's pretty cool when you're a villain.
Yeah. And
not to say that I agree with that. Not to say that I really think that was a great choice. But when you're just talking about villainous stuff, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I know I was about to say if the prequels didn't exist, I feel like it could shake out differently. But at that point, you'd also never have them all. But I think if you just judge it on the original trilogy, yeah, maybe it's not great. But I think as a credit to the prequels, the Clone Wars, and even Episode 9, right? And what retroactively got fixed in for the involvement of Snoke and what we're going to see with Mandalorian, continuing to flesh that out. Man's a genius, he orchestrated every single contingency, and he killed Plagueis. That's an impressive feat. So,
in his sleep too.
Yeah. Now, the true question, Mike, where would Palpatine be if not for Jar Jar Binks?
That's right. I mean, I am now realizing that, Christian, perhaps we're gonna have to do another villain bracket, because I forgot to put Jar Jar in the on the bracket. So we're gonna have to do it again, I guess.
But yeah, so Sheev Palpatine, I truly think everything we've added on with him makes him so much more than just the bad guy at the end that he originally was, you know?
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
Earned victory.
For sure.
So.
All right, well, I guess that really makes it, that really puts a cap onto it. We have Emperor Palpatine taking the gold. We have Darth Maul with the silver medal, and Darth Vader with third place bronze medal, and of course Director Krennic, honorable mention, number 4 here. So that was interesting, and I'm not really surprised, other than Darth Vader being as low as he is. That was interesting. That was fun, Christian.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm loving doing these. I think I'm right there with you. Like, I think much like last week, seeing how it shook out makes sense, you know, because while I'm with you, it's like initial like sort of a shock of like Vader's not like 1 or 2. It's like, yeah, I think through this discussion we've seen that like Vader, if we're holding him to the standards of the Sith and the standards of evil, like he falters at times, which is I think what makes him interesting. Yep. And Maul doesn't do that. So in this strictly villain contest, it's Maul, baby. So.
Yeah, man. I think that this is actually really interesting, and I'm excited to do 2 more of these because I think that's what we have on deck, right?
Hell yeah! Next week, I believe we're doing. Next week's gonna be interesting. We're doing the films. We're doing a bracket of the best Star Wars movie. So
yeah, and this is not going to be just the episodic films, correct? We're doing basically
everything. The Clone Wars film included. Look forward to that. That's gonna be next week. So I'm looking forward to that. So, but
let's do it.
You want me to wrap up this year's show, Mike?
Yeah, you're always better at it than me, Christian, so go for it.
So, first off, Mike, where can the listeners find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Shun2D2. This year's show is available on youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version if you would like to watch that. It is listed in the playlist for Jedi Knights, as well as all of our other podcasts. You can check those out on the channel as well. But if you want the audio version of the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your service of choice, check it out. If you can leave a review for the show, it'd be greatly appreciated because it helps us out. And if you want to get involved further to support the show, patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tier. $5 tier gets you producer credit on all of our podcasts, like Chris Sakas and Aaron Easton. And I'll say this too, because this episode is posting on Tuesday. This Thursday on youtube.com/joyclicks. If you would like to hear Mike and I talk about video games, there's going to be an event channel-wide where we're trying to decide the best of the best video games in the JoyClicks Hall of Game. Will the Star Wars games show up? I don't know. If not this time, maybe in the summer. We'll have to wait and see. But look forward to that. So, until then, Mike, it's been a pleasure. And we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
Oh, yes, you're right. Beep is up.